Sit down, John.
I saw all the other things.
Okay. It is Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Born and unborn.
Okay, minutes and minutes and reports received and filed.
Yes, we have the sheriff's March 2022 fees, and we have the treasurer's March 2022 reconciliation report.
Okay, Commissioner Committee liaison reports, upcoming meetings and events.
Yeah, we got MAC board meeting in about an hour, probably missed that one, but they were doing it on a Tuesday this time for going over and doing some legislative meetings. We got another meeting 3 o'clock this afternoon for the ARPA money. Home Builders Board meeting this afternoon, Planning Commission meeting this evening, Solid Waste Management District Board meeting tomorrow afternoon, HBA General Membership meeting Wednesday, Communities meeting Thursday morning. At Chiefs, is that this week?
Yep.
Okay. Good Friday, Easter, and quarterly reports are due. Don't forget those. I think that's it.
Let's see, in addition to what Jeff mentioned, Salute to America tomorrow and a safety meeting on Thursday.
Okay, and I've got down what Jeff had too. Wednesday at 1:30, the Sons of the American Revolution, we are honoring Thomas Jefferson's 279 years old tomorrow. So we're gonna do that out on the Capitol steps and get rained on. And then the Red Slipper has their launch Wednesday night too out at CCP. But that's all I've got. Commission comments. Before we do our bids and contracts, I'm gonna move the proclamation for National Public Safety Telecommunicators forward and have you come forward, and then I've got our both of you. Do it up, come on up. Come on up.
He's doing you all a favor, you have to stick around for all of this down there. Let the sausage get made.
Okay. They say the same thing, so you can pick whichever one you want. Whereas the week of April 11th through the 16th, 2022 is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, and whereas Jefferson City and Cole County Public Safety Telecommunicators answer over 17,000 calls for service every year, serving as a trusted lifeline between our citizens and emergency responders. And we got some other whereases. Now therefore, we, the Cole County Commission, by virtue of the authority vested in us by the laws of Missouri, do hereby proclaim the week of April 11th through the 16th, 2022 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, and call upon the people of Cole County to observe this week by appreciating our telecommunicators and recognizing the critical role they play in protecting the citizens of Jefferson City and Cole County. So you get one, you get one.
Scrunch together.
I took a shower this morning. I'm pretty good. Thank you very much. Then I've got, hold, you guys now, you know, we do the Toys for Tots every year. And so this year, our EMS department really stepped forward, and I forget how many hundred toys you've collected, but I'm kind of an ex officio Marine Corps Reserve Toys for Tots person. So anyway, the president, you are receiving the President's Award for your collection of all of the toys, and this year, we'll do.
It was 2 ambulances last year, we gotta do 3 this year.
Yeah, And we're getting bigger ambulances too.
Yes, we're getting bigger ambulances too, so hopefully we'll have one as big.
But anyway, thank you.
All right.
Yes, good job, guys.
Okay.
Too late.
No, they got away.
All right, one of those turn.
Alrighty. Good enough, huh?
Okay.
Photoshop them in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we will go back to our agenda. Bids and contracts. Bid award for 2022-16 interior painting at EMS.
All right, for 2022-16 interior painting at EMS, we had 3 vendors respond to the RFP. Eric did call on some references, and our recommendation is to go with Imhoff Construction with $15,835. Do you guys have a bid tab?
No, it's not attached to it. I think you emailed it, I don't remember.
Here, I'll
Yes,
take that
I
one.
think. With that.
I got 3 finally.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, they're a lot quicker too.
Make a motion to award the interior painting contract to Imhoff Construction at a cost of $15,835.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Do we have any unfinished business? Okay, new business. Accounts payable review.
I'd ask for approval of accounts payable pending review.
Motion to approve accounts payable pending review.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Second and final reading of budget adjustment number 1.
Okay, this is for $11,998. This is a grant that the EMA department got from Homeland Security. So I do need motion on this today.
Good.
We changed the
Trying to figure out where it's, which way.
Right on the second page. I'll tell you more about the grant.
So who's it with? Homeland Security?
Yep.
Okay, make a motion to sign the budget amendment with Homeland Security for the budget adjustment number
1.
1?
1.
That's number 1.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Signing of non-company agreement, and I think this is something we do every year. So,
It's Chris Estes. He's not here.
yeah.
Do we have the agreement? Did he send it to you to
Well,
review?
I've seen it, but he was supposed to bring it here and finalize it.
Did he send it to us? Let's go to the next
Oh,
one.
yeah, we're gonna move that. I forget, I think he's got a doctor's appointment, so we'll take that back later. Discussion of salary issues in the Cole County Sheriff's Department. Here, you get to sign that
No, I
too.
forgot, we get to sign these two.
Yeah.
We can save time if you just want to read it.
Which button was yours here?
So, the bad news is that currently the Cole County Sheriff's Department's in a staffing crisis. We are 22 down, or more importantly, 13 full-time positions and 9 part-time positions down right now. We did hire 2, they started yesterday, 2 jailers. But we're in a staffing crisis. I'm not gonna waste your time and look at, there's several articles here I have that I've looked up about law enforcement staffing, not only across the Missouri, but to the nation. Across the whole nation, we are short law enforcement officers. The problem we have here is we're competing with the same people because there's so many law enforcement agencies in this area. We've lost people to Boone County courts, Cole County courts, because they poached one from me. JCPD took 2 from me, Columbia PD took 2, Missouri State Elwood Crow took 1, Callaway took 2, Holt Summit took 1, State Investigations took 2, Treasurer poached another one from mine. So I'm losing people left and right. So I gotta address it, I gotta stop the bleed. And the first thing that I have to do that with is the salaries. Currently, our starting salary is $38,800, and if you look at around this area, that's pretty low when it comes to what we're dealing with around this area. To really get into it more, if you look at the very first page, you'll see that the International Association of Chiefs of Police, typically, they said that your budget typically comprises of 80 to 95% of the department's total budget should go towards personnel. It's easy to budget if you know that and you move on. Right now, EMS is at 75%, bailiffs is at 76, health department's at 69, juveniles at 85, prosecutors 94, assessors 74, commissions at 98, Cole County Sheriff's Department's at 54.62. So we're way unfunded as far as our personnel goes. So we want to do better for our staff. So if you look at the second page, you'll see that my proposal is going to cost a little bit of money, but before we can talk how much money it's going to cost, we have to know how much money I'm going to have in my budget. If you look at the budget on R16, the total revenue decrease from the prior year is going to be 1.8. So I'm losing 1.8 million revenue because the sales tax is going down. The good news is the debt service reduces $2.9 million. So while my revenue is going to go down, my debt services goes down further, so the total revenue after debt services is going to be about $1.1 million. So in 2023, I would have $1.1 million additional to my current budget. So this year's budget, it was a good budget, right? I didn't have any negative, it was a good budget. So next year, when I go into next year, I'm going to have the same budget plus another 1.1 million. So I have more than enough money to be able to pay for this, for these increases. Page 3, you'll see that what the current base pay is and what the proposed base pay is. Now, when you first look at those, you think that's a really big jump, and it is. But you got to remember that most of the individuals aren't at that base pay because they got the 5.5% y'all thankfully gave them last year and so forth. The jailer, we'll start out with jailer. You guys gave me the idea whenever you were talking about the EMS. You went for the EMTs, you were sending them, they were actually sending EMTs to get certified as a paramedic, and the comment was made, and I don't remember, I think it was either Jeff or Sam, was talking about how the EMTs then become feeders for paramedics because they were so short on paramedics. So last year, I don't know if you remember, but last year we started sending people to LETI, and now we're sending them to Lincoln, and because of that, the last 2 people that we brought on the road has been from the jail. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make the jailers as our feeders. So we need to bring them up, and of course, that's where we're missing most of our people is working in the jail. So they go from 35 to 42. And the deputy, we went to 48. I actually had it at 50,000. And when I first did this budget, I included everybody, including the civilians, because I have issues with my civilians too as far as pay. I can't afford to leave them. If you think about our organization, it's like an assembly line. And there's things that has to happen in the front before we can do them in the end for us to accomplish the mission. And most of the stuff that happens in the front end is all civilians. And if I lose civilians, then I have to pull commission people in to do those jobs because I have to do that job. So my first intent was to do all of them, but after speaking with you guys, because this has been a 6-month process. I didn't come up with this in a week. But after speaking with you, after speaking with Kristen, I took the civilians out of it, and I actually lowered it. I started the starting salaries for the deputies at 50, because that's what the highway patrol's at 53, Boone County's at 51. So, I mean, Miller County's going up, so everyone's going up around us. So I lowered it to 48, and then as far as the corporal, sergeant, lieutenant, captain, I have to have some separation in there so we don't have to come back here again in 3 years because of compression. So I went with a $7,000 difference. So if you look, you'll see there's $7,000 difference in every one of those levels. Now, the base pay is a good thing, and we'd be able to implement that, but we still have to take care of our people that's been there for a while. Unfortunately, I don't have enough money to make it right. So what I came up with, what our staff came up with, 0 to 2 years, if they've been here for 0 to 2 years, they would not get anything. 2 to 4 years, they'd get a $1,200 bump on top of the proposed base pay. And then the 4+ years, they'd get a $2,400 bump on top of the base pay. So if I do it that way, then some of my people that have been with me for a while will have more money than those that just started with me. And I mean, I think that's fair. And then below that, you can see the step raise. Actually, again, this was the step raise was something I stole from EMS and from Jeff and you guys with this. But I can't do every year, but I can do a 2-year, a 4-year, and a 6-year, a $1,200 bump on their anniversary on the 2, 4, and 6 years. But that's next year, and that's going to be part of my budget negotiations for next year. We're at a crisis because of the shortage that I have in personnel. I had one person this past pay period that turned in 57 hours of overtime. Now, that's a lot of money we're pushing, and by the way, our current jail overtime is at 65%. So we're into the 3rd month, that's what the budget is right now, and I'm at 65% of my overtime. So I gotta do something because I'm burning my people out. I'm killing them. So on page 4, you can see the total cost for the salary adjustment for the year, for a whole year, would be $661,000, well below the $1.1 million that I currently have. The total cost starting May 1, because that's when I want to implement this, is May 1, would be $406,000. My current salary surplus is $240,000. And then if you annualize that to May 1, I would actually have $320,000, $328,829. So there is, due to the vacancies, I'll have more than enough funds to implement this salary adjustment this year without any additional cost to the Sheriff's Department. Additionally, since as far as budget year 2023, the yearly cost for the proposed salary increase is $661,000. My total revenue after debt services will increase by $1.1 million. So due to the emergent nature of my current staffing, I'm requesting to implement these proposed salary adjustments as of 1 May 22. That's all I have. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Did you say what JC's paying theirs right now?
We don't know. They're in negotiations. I have no idea.
What are they paying right now, do you know?
I don't know that either.
Just, I mean,
Because
they
they're-
just got the new tax that
Yeah,
passed,
but
so-
they're going through negotiations right now with them. They're supposed to announce that
Okay.
either tomorrow or not tomorrow. I don't know when they're gonna announce it.
Okay, so we got to talk about it last week, and I briefly told you this morning too, we had some questions and stuff, so I was curious what some of these other places do pay, so we can do some comparing. And then I'd also like to see what it does to the budget from 23, 24, out to 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, because right now it looks good because you got 1.1 million after the tax rollback, so,
If I have the 1.1 billion in 2023, I'm gonna have it for however long. That's gonna keep coming in.
Right.
Sales tax is up right now 7%, so in actuality, I think that the sales tax number that's in that deal is probably wrong. I think it's higher than that.
Yeah, you can plug different numbers in there too and make it do funny things.
That's a true
We
point.
did that back when your
That's a true
predecessor
point.
was here too, and it goes from red to black pretty easy.
Yes, sir.
So, I agree with you. I think we need to make some changes. We need to be able to compete, and we need to pay our officers. I want to kind of look at it. It's a big jump, and I don't know if there's a way we can do it incrementally, or just take a look at what these other ones are making.
So the problem with incrementally is you can't just give pay raises to the deputies. And that's who I need the most pay raise to, because not only do I have to stop the bleed for the people leaving right now, in which I just had 2 leave here in this year. So I have to stop the bleed, but I have to be able to go to LETI and to Lincoln and say, come work for me. Because right now I show up and you have Highway Patrol and Boone County and St. Charles and all these other ones showing up, and they're paying well over $48,000. And it's hard for me to compete with that. I've actually had a person tell me that they would like to come work for me, but they can get $10,000 more going to the PD.
Well, I think with the quarter city, I think you could probably have some deputies just jump over to JCPD. and-
Well,
And so, I,
especially since they're doing a $10,000 sign-up bonus.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I will lose people.
yeah, so I'm okay with it for now, just next year, if, depending on how it affects your budget, you know, we don't come asking for a lot.
Oh, no, I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
I looked at this, Betsy's looked at this, Bo's looked at this. I've come to each one of you, I've had Kristen look at
Yeah.
this. I'm definitely going up. I mean, there's actually Kristen and I, we're going back and forth if it's 1.1 million versus 921,000. So we actually, whenever we started doing this, we actually, we came in at, it was like, I don't even remember what the number was, 847,000, but that was for everybody in the department. And so, after talking with her, I went ahead and took the civilians off right now, but we'll be talking about it in 2023 for sure. If the money's there, I gotta have some money for my civilians too.
And you had said you would not do a COLA for them next year.
Anybody
Can we do that?
I would be okay if anybody that's getting a
We've done it
raise in
before.
May,
We did it with Public Works 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay,
I would be comfortable in saying that anybody that's in uniform that gets a raise in 1 May they would waive the 3%, or the COLA, sorry.
yeah, whatever.
Sheriff, quick question on this. The first box here on the compression raise, the 2 to 4 is 1,200, the 4 plus is 2,400. Is that 2,400 more, or is it a 1,200 stacked on a 1,200?
No, it's 1,200, or 2,400.
It is
So
24.
Anybody with 4+ years would get the base pay plus the 2,400.
Okay, and prior to that, they did get the 1,200 too, right?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, so after 4 plus, it's the equivalent of 3,600? Because,
No. No, sir. I would say, we were gonna look at it, anybody that has 2 to 4 years in is gonna get a $1,200 raise.
oh, now,
period.
bam.
Right now.
Okay, I got it, all right. Okay, that's an immediate
Yes,
calculation.
that would be part of the formula
Got it,
for
okay.
these pay raises.
And that's built into the numbers that you've pushed here, because you know who's got 2
Yes,
plus
that's
and who's
built
got
into
4.
the $402,000 or $406,000.
Okay, just a curiosity, where did you find the 2? I don't know, I don't want their names, but you did hire 2. Where did you?
One was
where-
from corrections.
One's from Lowe's and one's from.
Yeah, one's from Lowe's and one's from corrections.
Okay. Well, you and I have gone over these numbers a bunch of times. I do think, when you mention where they're leaving, where they're going when they leave you, and it's quite a list.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It'd really be sad if you were losing them to Lowe's.
Yeah.
It's a little sad when you lose them inside the family of the county.
Well, I was hoping y'all would pass an ordinance on that they can't do that no more. Unless they want to come work for me, then it's okay.
Okay.
There's some different jumps in there too, going from, after I had to look at it a little more this weekend too, the jailers jumping 7,000 and deputies 9,200 and corporal, sergeant, they're all going up
But,
at even bigger numbers. I don't know, it just,
well, you gotta
Seems
understand,
weird.
Jeff, the base pay for the deputy is 38.8, but they're not making that right now. They're making more than that. It's not gonna be a jump like that. They have, they're making more money than the base pay right now.
but it is a jump.
Oh, it is definitely.
So-
I mean, and you have to. The corporals, the sergeants, lieutenants, they gotta have a jump too. I can't have deputies making the same amount of money. We just went through that when we hired, when we promoted the lieutenant, if you remember. We promoted the lieutenant and he was already at 56 as a sergeant. So we had to do the $2,000 bump that the commission had stated they wanted to do. And so, and I was good with that, but our compression right now, our salaries right now aren't correct. They're not good. That's why we're trying to fix them. I can't have deputies making the same amount of money as my corporals, and the corporals making as much as.
I mean, I understand that, but it's, try to fix that, take care of the ones that we do have then, and do that in a different way rather than on the
How?
proposed base pay. I'm not really sure.
That's the problem,
what I-
because I'm gonna tell you, we were beating our heads to death over this. We pulled,
That's what happened to you?
no,
Okay.
it was a tree. I don't wanna talk about it.
I understand.
But 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 we racked our brains over this, and this was, and the problem is, and this is what I told my staff whenever I was working on this. I'm working on the pay for the future. I can't do anything about the past, because there's gonna be some people that's gonna be upset, because I'm gonna have people that's been here 15 years, and they're gonna be making the same amount of money as someone that's been here for 4. And that's not fair. But I can't fix the pay for the past, I can only fix it for the future. So that's what my intent is try to fix it for the future. And the way you do that is there's gonna be people that aren't gonna get as much pay raises as others. And people are just gonna get, well, they're gonna get screwed. But I'm trying to do it equally as I can. But guys, we gotta have it. I mean, I'm already reducing services out in the county by getting rid of the Towson-Wardsville position, and that's a position that's not even paid by us. That's paid for by Towson-Wardsville, and I can't fill that position. The SROs are gonna have to come out and work the road during the summer, because we're already, we're at 2021, March of 2021, we were at 3,800 calls for service. March of 2022, we're at 5,200. So our call volume's going up, and we're going into, and we're not even in the busy year yet. And I'm down in patrol division. So I need help, and I have the money.
Show me the money. Well, here's what I'm going to do, Sheriff. I'm going to make a motion to adopt your salary schedule grid effective May 1.
Yes, sir.
And then we can, if there's a second, then we can discuss it.
I will second.
Discussion?
Are you gonna do that with the condition of, no COLA raises for them, if there are COLA raises? in
As
23
presented.
then, so,
As
okay.
presented. And there, I think your sales tax revenue for the current year is well understated, because it's set at what it was last year, and as you say, it's up 7%, which I
Yes, sir.
think is equivalent of about 350,000, I think, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I think 22 is going to be okay. It is going to take some fancy calculating for your 23 budget. That'll be an interesting,
Well, I agree with what you're saying, but I think the way we're gonna have to look at it is every year when we go into our budget, we look at our personnel first, and then everything comes second.
right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is you look at your budget, and then there might be some things you're gonna have
I mean,
to,
truthfully, that's how you guys do it.
yeah.
You look at the personnel first, and then you look at everything.
Yeah, but I will say this, you're using that, you say 54% of your budget is personnel versus other. I think you've got a lot more operating costs, because you're feeding 150 people a day, and none of the other departments are, and you're clothing them and so on and so forth. So it's not a good, I mean, you can make that comparison, but I would expect your salary percentage to be a lot lower than some of the other areas because of that.
Okay,
Well, I don't know, it's just the big jump, and I'd like to look at it some more. I'm gonna probably just say no for that reason today, Sheriff, so make sure I don't speed on the way home.
okay.
Walking back to your office.
I'm gonna get that moped that's got the governor on it, so that's the only reason though, John. We had a good conversation last week about it, and I think we agreed on a lot of it, that we do need to fix some stuff on it, and we need to be able to hire people. We're not even able to keep our jailers right now taking care of people, and we're talking about building out the interstitial layer. So if we can't fill the jailers in one area, how are we gonna staff that? So, I
That's
mean,
absolutely correct, sir. That's
Yeah.
another
It's
reason
gonna be
why.
a problem down the
if
road,
we're-
but
That's another reason why, if we're even thinking about building out that facility down there, I gotta start building up my base now. So if, hopefully this pay raise to the 42 for the jailers will increase people coming to me. I'm even looking at expanding, because usually I tell people, if you want to work the road in Jeff City, you have to live in Cole County, you gotta live in Cole County. And I'm thinking about waiving that and do a 20-mile or something, because I got nobody. I have nobody applying.
so the difference between the jailer and the deputy is certified.
That's correct.
So A jailer cannot be a deputy, but a deputy can be a jailer, right?
No, so a jailer can't be a deputy, but a deputy can fill a jailer spot, but
Right.
he can't be it.
So if you
Well, I
have
guess
a-
he could be, yeah, we could.
Yeah, for positions
So-
are full.
So if all the deputy positions are full and somebody wants to come get their foot in the door and work as a jailer,
Yeah, that's true.
so,
That's a good point. I didn't
I
think.
mean, I don't understand why anybody would want to work as a jailer, period, because you're stuck inside and with some of the best people
Well,
around.
And I'm gonna tell you,
So-
that just goes to show you, the amount of professionals and the motivation that some of my staff have down there with the sergeants and the lieutenants, the corporals down there, and how they're able to motivate and keep these guys coming back. They're doing their job every day under, let's say, adverse conditions, because of staffing. There's been a couple times, not a couple, there's been a few times that we were down to a minimum of 5. We had 157 people in custody at my facility, and I had 5 people working. That's one person for the master control, one person for satellite. That leaves 3 people to handle the whole pod. So we need to look at addressing. I'm hoping once we get the full staff, we can address the minimum staffing and take that up, because 3 is
Give
not-
Betsy a gun, and don't give Greg Gaffey a gun, no.
No,
No,
I don't think no Greg should get a gun.
No.
I'm not saying anybody in personal, I'm just saying.
yeah, yeah.
Sheriff, years ago, prior to you being here, the county ran into the feds with respect to the jail conditions and so on. Is the size of the jailer staff ever one of those issues with the feds?
It's part of the formula for us to be able to get, and keep the U.S. Marshals, and I think that's why they went with 5, was because 5 was the minimum that they would accept. So, should we have ever opened our jail with 5 minimum staffing? I would have said no, but that was between, Mark, I think it was Mark and Greg that made that decision. So we'll blame Greg since he's not here right now. And Brian.
Yeah, Brian's not here. Okay, any other discussion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Okay.
sorry, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Okay,
To 2 of you.
Porsche 911s. Pursuit vehicles. Okay. Approval of hotspot with FirstNet for the county health.
Hello. So for some time, we've had a hotspot that we pay for out of the Public Health Emergency Preparedness contract, and it's outdated. We pay $78.24 a month for the hotspot. Well, because of Brian, our wonderful IT director, we found out that the FirstNet
There he
program
is.
available for us, so we can upgrade the hotspot to the new 5G. We'll pay for that of our ELC ED contract, and then the new fee moving forward that will still be paid for by the emergency preparedness grant is $38 a month. So moving forward, we'll save $40 a month by getting a new hotspot and changing our contract to run through that FirstNet program. So I just need approval to proceed with that.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, why wouldn't we?
Right. I don't have anything to sign. It's all electronic through FirstNet and AT&T. I
Okay,
just need your approval.
so you're asking for approval to save money?
Yes.
Yeah,
You got it.
All right.
Something seems fishy.
I know. Well, we have to buy a new hotspot, but it's
Yeah.
covered under the DHSS
Oh,
contract.
now that
I said the ELC ED contract will pay for that. So
yeah,
Okay.
take it out of Brian's budget.
So,
no,
I don't know.
no. I need to spend that.
Why are you hiding back
Yeah,
there?
I need
as
to
long as
spend
y'all
that
check it
contract.
out, that just seems really low, so. it just
That's the
seems
same
like-
contract that we're using the iPads for environmental. So
Okay, I mean,
Okay.
with FirstNet, it seemed like somehow there was added fees on that stuff with FirstNet and AT&T.
Brian's saying no. No, the paper is saying the paper we have. I
You
have.
go to AT&T for me.
Yeah, I have the contract. It's $38 a month.
Yeah, I'm like,
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm good with it, absolutely.
We're fine.
I'm just
Okay.
a little leery of it. It sounds too good to be true.
oh, well. You still believe in Santa Claus, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Approval of sole source ad for Stryker Pro Care Services.
We're just needing approval today to run the ad for sole source for preventive maintenance on 11 CPR devices for EMS. The amount of the sole source is $12,861.45.
Good.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the sole source ad for structure and soul care services.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval and signing of amendment with Aramark Uniform Services.
This is an amendment to the contract with Aramark Uniform Services. We awarded this at the end of last year for Public Works for their uniforms. At the time of the awarding, we didn't think insurance was necessary for the garments. They kind of just pay for ruins and damages. But with further review, Eric and Carrie think that the insurance would actually benefit Public Works. Instead of being charged for the ruins, we're just paying, in the future, we'd pay a flat rate. And I think Eric has all of this.
Additionally, whenever we change over contracts, they come and grade every piece of every garment that we have, and we get docked a certain amount based on condition of it. And so the insurance just covers us, any damage or any replacement that they have to do throughout the year, it's covered. And it allows us to budget a little bit better, and there's no issues at the end of the year with having to buy back stuff or pay for all the stuff that comes in that's damaged.
And what is the cost of insurance?
It's $3,750.24 a year, but that would be prorated. It would just start 1st of April, so it would be 3/4 of that amount.
How many do you have to replace a year? Have you kind of kept track of that to see what the difference is? I mean, if it's, how much is a pair of pants if it gets a hole in it, or a shirt gets a sleeve ripped off, or whatever?
Pants are $18, I know that for sure. The others, I don't know what the cost is. But we, especially with our mechanics, with oil and everything, short sleeve shirt.
So if they get a stain, they replace it and give you a new clean
And
one or
any
whatever?
any worn out clothing, any ripped, anything that has to be replaced, it's covered under this insurance. If
So
you
is
don't-
it insurance less than what we're paying now for damaged and,
Our thought is, it could be a little less, it could be a little more, but at the end of the day, we don't have to worry about budgeting less or more each year. It's covered. We think probably at the end of the day, probably to our advantage, it would be better to have the insurance. And, in addition, talking with Aramark, there was nobody else that bid on this contract except them, and they only did it because they had the business already and didn't want to lose it. But they said going into the future, no companies will do any of this without insurance anymore. So it will be required that we do it.
We'll have to put it in our RFP for next time.
So I'd recommend going ahead and starting this up, and that way we have it, we're covered. And at the end of the term of the contract, they don't have to come and grade everything, and then we get charged for that amount.
And the annual cost again, the 30,
$3,750.24, 3750.24
Okay.
per year.
Who decides if it gets replaced? I mean, if your mechanic comes in and says, I want a clean shirt without a stain, they keep sending this one back, I want a different one, do they get a different one, or do they decide that?
We can decide that.
So you may have had other ones that you could have returned that you went ahead and,
In some cases, the employee would just keep on using it rather than turn it in, just because we know we'd get docked for it. Or, he would just keep on using it. This allows us to kind of have better control over making sure we got good, clean-looking uniforms.
yeah, I'm fine with it.
yeah.
I-
We got a lot of employees out there with the uniforms on, so. Need a motion to, or I'll make a motion to sign the amendment with Aramark Uniform Services.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'm gonna skip around a little bit just to get the sign of contract with Meyer Electric generator for the health department done, because I think that's last thing for you. Or is that what you're here for, Greg? Okay.
We're just needing signature for the contract with Meyer Electric. The generator is ordered. So the total was $21,327, and they have to have the project completed 45 days once we receive the generator, because right now it's kind of in the air of how long it'll.
Yeah, they said 42 weeks to get the generator.
How many?
42.
How many kilowatts was that? You remember? 130? Is it more than that?
I think it's 40 or 60.
And how much was it?
21.
No, that's just for the,
That's not just mine.
that's just Meyer. How much was the actual generator?
And that's
40.
switch too.
No, total was 42. The generator was about 21 and installation was about 21. Right?
Yeah. This automatic transfer switch and the generator was.
Yeah, so this is just the installation with Meyer. This is not the purchase of the generator.
Just,
Yeah, you don't remember how much it was.
I think it was about, they were both about 21. I think total was 42.
43 something.
Yeah.
But it was less than 130 kW? I'll get with you on it. I'll tell you the reason later. You might know where there's one available. We haven't already bought it.
We also talked again yesterday about that AC unit for the vaccine room. Greg was getting a quote on that.
Okay.
that We talked
Yeah.
about when we talked about the generator.
Okay.
And do we have anything come up with that fence for that back up on top?
We've looked at it. Jeff, I'd like to pick your brain afterwards to see.
Oh, that won't take long.
See if my idea will work better. I think it's more secure. And I think it'd be more pleasing. I was out there yesterday looking at the siding. We may have to replace some of that siding too out there before long.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. I know we were looking at it last week. I never heard anything about it, but you had some issues with family stuff, so figured I'd just ask you real quick today where we were at on that. I think that's it.
was $22,000, sorry to interrupt, $22,322, and it was,
40 to 60. Should say on there.
40.
Okay, so 130 is way more than we needed out there. You need a 130? I'll talk, like I said, I'll talk to you about that later.
Okay.
We backed it off, got a little frugal on it. I mean, maybe the big one would take care of the whole building, but we could live without AC in parts of it if the power went out, but we couldn't live
Right.
without AC or whatever in the vaccine room and the computer
Yeah.
This
room.
is just for the vaccine and server room.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, this isn't just for the health department. This, if we have something else in general, might be something worth looking into for the price tag.
okay.
Let's see, you need a motion to sign? Did we do it? All right. I'll offer a motion to sign the contract with Meyer Electric for $21,327 for the installation of the generator at the health department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we will do discussion of tax credit sponsorship for Jefferson City Soccer Complex project.
Thank you all. My name is Kyle Berenson. I'm a volunteer member of the board for United Capital City Soccer Club, a local soccer club here in Jeff City. Looking to
Thanks,
build a
Jeff.
4 to 6 fields complex, the old Rock Quarry, Highway 54. I've been working on this for roughly 2.5 years now. It's really come along good in the last year. We have a little over $3 million in our pocket now, of a $6 to $8 million total revenue. We feel this will turn the town into a valuable sports destination, very easy access, numerous hotels. The project will be an economic engine for our city. As you read through the packets that we are leaving you, this project has great momentum from local, regional, and even state support, ranging from the Jefferson City Visitor and Convention Bureau, the Regional Planning Commission, and the city, who we're also working with. In addition, we have multiple letters of intent to bring out-of-town tournaments here, validating if we build it, they will come. Right now, our teams travel 6 to 8 weeks every spring and fall to Kansas or St. Louis, spending a lot of money every weekend. We'd like to keep all the money here and allowing kids that have families that can't afford to travel every weekend a place to play competitive soccer. As I was saying, the total budget for 4 fields is approximately 8.5, 6 fields, 10.5 million. We're hoping with going in conjunction with you guys on applications with the Missouri Department of Finance Board, that we can apply for tax credits which will help us raise additional funds. This complex would literally provide hundreds of jobs, ranging from referees to administrative and program professionals, as well as 100% of the construction of this project is all going to be done with vendors from Jefferson City area. This complex has very good statewide and further support. It's going to encompass as many 9 surrounding states coming to Jefferson City. And like most importantly, this complex will provide direct economic boost for our hometown that has been a long time coming and even more evident in the wake of the pandemic. Joe Lopez, who been working with me on this project, he might be able to explain, and Luke Holtschneider, who's helping us assist him with this, explain the tax credit application a little more than I can do. I was the one that started this project, and now I got a pretty good team helping me to get it done. Based on calculations derived from the Destinations International Event Calculator that the Convention and Visits Bureau here did, it's going to impact our economy crucially in sports. We're looking at $11,600,000 in revenue in the first year of this complex. And last year, our total sports revenue was 6.5, so it's almost doubling it, taxable revenue, taxable income in our town. The return on investment is great. We have plenty of documentation supporting everything that we're doing. We've put a lot of time in this, and so we ask for your support in it. Joe might be able to explain a little more about the tax credit application.
Yeah, and I'd like to defer to Luke also, but basically our request today is that you guys sponsor the tax credits. Obviously, we are not a municipality, we're a 501c3. And so we need your support in that. We want to make sure that you guys are well aware there's no liability in this, but you're representing us as a sponsor, and that's what we ask for. We did actually prepare a draft document, which I provided today for everyone, but it is in draft. We're waiting on some recommendations back. We've also provided it to your attorney for review to make sure that there's no, issues at hand. So really at the end of the day, what this allows us to do, if you would grant us this opportunity, is when we push towards the campaign, which we're about to begin, it allows somebody to look back at their contributions, and a lot of times, based on their position in business and their position financially, they might up their contribution based on the tax incentive. So we would love to have this opportunity. We have yet to go to the board and make this formal request because we can't do it unless we have your support. So that's what we're asking for today. And then Luke, if you want to expand on.
Yep, and so I can help talk through some of the tax credit component of this, but as I've mentioned numerous times with each of you individually, and then both, at previous commission meetings, is, looking at how we can improve the, kind of economic outlook for Central Missouri. It's not just industrial. By no means, I think the direction which we can grow is through a lot of community development efforts, which will lead to, long-term industrial and new job opportunities. But looking at ways that we can grow revenue and grow really the appearance and the attraction of Central Missouri is, through efforts just like this. And so have had the opportunity to engage with the team over the past few weeks and actually past, couple months, and there's a lot of traction behind it. There's a lot of interest, there's a lot of support, and there's already some kind of early stage indication of donation that's going to be coming along. So what we're here to, as Joe kind of mentioned, is seeking support, not today, but potentially at the next commission meeting, to formalize that support for the county to sponsor a contribution tax credit application to the Missouri Development Finance Board. There would be we would seek a formal resolution by the county at an upcoming commission meeting expressing that intent, desire to support, and then finalize the tax credit application. But the long and short of it is that approved projects through the Missouri Development Finance Board would be eligible to support campaign contributions. So donations that come into the project would be supported at a reimbursement of 50% of their donation would be returned to the donor contributor in the form of a tax credit. So as Joe mentioned, it's a way to drive new donations and potentially increase those donations that may be in discussions currently. So in order for the project to be eligible, it has to be officially applied for from a local political form of government or state agency. And I think the county has had a lot of, and has expressed a lot of interest in the project and what's going on, and really feel has been a good partner, and so that's why we would seek the county's support in this.
Just to be clear, Luke, the campaign is to raise contributions for this effort. It's not what other folks often think about when you talk about a campaign.
No, it is for the project. So
Yes.
within the application would be defining what the project is, which is the construction and development of a multi-field soccer complex.
Do you know, is the city going to endorse this thing, or you're looking for the county to be the applicant? You look for, will you look for other political subdivisions within this area to support or endorse?
Yes, so part of, and speaking with the finance board, is we would want that kind of formalized support or conveyed support from the city. So it's clearly indicating that there's no objection from the city in pursuit of the project, but they're just not the sponsor applicant.
We can just do it quicker, and there is no cost to the county, so.
Correct.
Yeah, I've participated in things like this in the past, so I don't have any problem with it.
And right now, the kind of thought is to begin, so we would submit the draft application once all parties agree to the, the contents of what's provided in the application to the Missouri Development Finance Board. It would be more of an informal submission, so they receive draft applications. They allot a period of time for any feedback, so some constructive criticism on applications before it would ever be presented or put on an agenda for a Missouri Development Finance Board meeting. So over the next week or two, we would look to finalize the draft application locally and then get it in the hands of the Finance Board to review informally.
Will this fall in their current fiscal year? Does it get, it does?
Correct.
Before June 30?
So the tax credits are on an actual calendar
Oh, that's right,
year.
we talked about that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And MDFP throws the reserve is $1 million of the 10 for small communities to start with, is that right? And we'd fit under that?
Correct.
Under 50,000?
There's a 10, so the program, the contribution tax credit program within the Finance Board is, they are authorized 10 million in tax credits per year is what they can authorize. And of that 10 million, 1 million is set aside at the beginning in reserve for rural communities. By definition, their definition, that's 50,000 or less city population. And so county-wise, I can't remember what the county limitation is, but based on the project location, this project would meet the rural parameters.
Okay.
But I don't think we also have to limit ourselves to that million.
Right.
So the initial thought was to apply for 2 million in tax credits, which ultimately leverages a total of $4 million, 2 million also being reimbursed in the form of tax credits.
Okay.
But it is a statewide program, 10 million per year. So, personally, I 2 million is, I think, a kind of high water mark that we would seek some favorable response from, but there is the potential that they would reduce or ask for a reduction in request at some point. But they're never going to tell us to go up, so we're going to start
I'm
there.
good with that. It's going to be a nonprofit entity as well. doing
Yeah,
this.
so-
And you've worked with the YMCA and everybody else that it might affect and make sure you're not stepping on any toes. And they're
We met
actually
with all
on
of
board with everybody So, I mean, I think we've had several meetings with this. I
Yeah.
think it'd be a huge benefit to the community.
And
So,
we've had meetings with the city too. I mean, we've had no objection from anybody throughout the whole state. Everybody's supporting it.
So just get ready if you get this done, because you're gonna have about 6 other sports or
Sports
athletics
complex.
that's gonna come to you and say, hey, we need something for volleyball.
Archery,
and
archery, we keep hearing that
basketball.
from.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
find a place to build a huge Butler building.
There's
that we
plenty of
can-
room down there.
Yeah,
There is another conversation like that going on right now
Yeah.
too,
Good,
so.
glad
Yeah.
to hear it, because it's needed.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome down there. It's gonna really drive a lot of money in town.
Yep.
If we can
need
work
any-
with the council as well to, the county's council on a resolution and some of that language.
Yep, I'm good with it. Do we need action today? So,
Okay.
okay.
yeah, and if
So,
we need to add it.
did a date to be determined, we will officially agree to be the applicant.
You know, I'm not going to speak on behalf of, my thought would be to target, you know, the resolution framework and have that being able to be
Okay.
voted on next week if possible.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd go ahead and add it to the agenda, and if for some
Yeah.
reason it's not ready, we can pull it off there. and then-
Yeah, I think, yeah. Good idea,
Excellent.
Jeff.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, thank you all.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you all very much.
Okay, we will go back, I had forgotten, Chris said he had an appointment, but signing of non-company agreement.
Take care.
And this is something we do every year, so.
That copy here that I've signed already. Dawn, do you want an unsigned copy, or do you want to wait for me to sign it?
I can just get the sign one
Okay.
from them.
I guess if Jill review it, I mean, if it's the same one, then I don't know.
It is, and he's got enough to exceed in it and hourly rate and
So-
for particular commercial property. He sent it to Sam also.
Yeah,
These are actually the properties that we had for 2021 at the Board of Equalization. So we're still dealing with the 2021 appeals. So that's what these appraisals are for. And it generally takes about this long to do it, sometimes a little less, but he's been pretty busy this year. So, and I'd probably, depending on whether we get a lot of appeals at BOE this year, we may need to add an addendum to the contract for him to handle any of those commercial properties from the 2022 Board of Equalization. But this is for the 2021 properties that we needed appraisals from.
Okay, I'm good.
Any
Good.
I'm good.
questions?
yeah.
Make a motion to sign the non-company agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Quick and to the point.
Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate you making an exception for me this morning. And keep
Gotcha.
doctors waiting.
Yeah. Okay, Rock Island Trail Assessment Meeting with the Missouri State Parks. Who is,
Morning.
I'll bring it to you. I can do whatever you like, yeah. Hi, I'm Melanie Smith. I'm the Deputy Regional Director for Missouri State Parks, and then I have been serving as the Katy Trail Coordinator, although we have a new Katy Trail Coordinator that's with us today. And I'm the point person kind of for the Rock Island Corridor Project at this point. So we just wanted to share a little bit of information. We'll go ahead and introduce the rest of our staff that are here with us today.
I'm David Kelly, I'm State Park Director.
Cassie Brandt, Katy Trail Coordinator.
Zane Price, Real Estate Manager.
Ryan Denley, Planning Section Chief.
Great. Thanks for having us today. Okay, just click it. Oh, roll. All right, today we're gonna cover a few topics, kind of trail development, what we're looking at for trail development for the Rock Island Corridor, grants and funding update, and then talk a little bit about community development, because we do have a few communities that are in Cole County that are not incorporated cities, so certainly we'll be looking for assistance there. This is the Rock Island Corridor map that includes both the Katy Trail and the Rock Island. That red line on the top is Katy Trail State Park. Over here on the left-hand side, the blue section is the Rock Island Spur, which is a 47.5-mile section of Rock Island Trail that we opened in 2016. The orange up on the top is actually part of the same rail corridor, but it's managed by Jackson County Rock Island Trail Authority. And they have, I think, about 13 miles that actually connects up to Arrowhead Stadium. And then the green line on the bottom is that new 144-mile corridor that DNR accepted on December 14th of 2021. So kind of illustrates that big loop, how it will connect on both sides. So one of the big differences between Katy Trail and Rock Island Trail is that on the Katy Trail, the right-of-way is 100 foot wide pretty much at any given spot, 50 feet from the center of the main line in both directions. Each of our trail communities typically has a wider right-of-way, at least twice that big. That is where there was a train station at one point, and we use those for our trailheads. The Rock Island corridor is not the same. So when it was transferred, before it was transferred to us, many parcels were sold off. You can see this is the map of Eugene. The blue hashed areas, and actually, the blue hashed area is what was transferred to DNR, and the red hashed areas are owned by someone else. So we don't have any control over that property. So you can see that in many cases, we have a much narrower right-of-way to work with. Here in Eugene, there where that little thin blue strip is, that's leading up to the tunnel. And I don't have my notes, but I'm gonna guess it's about 16 feet wide. That's traditionally what was accepted. So it's wide enough to build a trail, but not wide enough to do too much else on that section. And then I also have provided Henley, because I understand that Henley is also unincorporated. So it's kind of the same deal. Red parcels were sold off. These could have been, a lot of them were sold to a private corporation, but some of them were sold to cities, to people who live next to it. A variety of circumstances. So that's really one of the reasons that we're coming out and doing this community planning process. Let me back up. So we're planning to meet with and have been meeting with every one of the communities that's along the Rock Island corridor, and we're sharing this exact information with each one of them so they have a full picture of what it is that the corridor looks like. Because in many cases, we're going to need assistance from the local community, the local counties, the local folks to figure out where makes the most sense to have trailheads and other access areas, parking areas and things to the Rock Island corridor. Because we do have such an interesting right-of-way in the communities. And I do have a map that includes all of the communities, so if there's another one on the corridor that is of interest to you, we can certainly look at that as well. When we go out to the communities and visit with them, information that we share, and I do have this as handouts if you're interested, we share information about what the trail looks like. We have several communities that are excited to get going and are interested in building the trail within their community as soon as they're able. They're looking at grants and things. So we provide specifications that show what the trail would need to look like, what the base looks like, what the surfacing looks like, the shoulders and the ditches. We also provide information about what's at a trailhead. Everywhere that we have a trailhead on the Katy Trail, and we think this would be the similar on the Rock Island line. Got to have parking, somewhere to park your car. Got to have water. That's pretty critical for folks who are cycling long distances. Bathrooms are nice. People prefer flushing toilets, but vaults also do in a pinch, but bathrooms are important. And then we typically also have an info depot is what we call these structures. This is the one, I believe, from Pleasant Hill. They provide a little bit of shade if there's no trees around there, a bench so people can sit down and eat their lunch, take a load off, and rest. And then also some map panels. Typically we have one map panel that has probably have that whole loop map that I shared earlier. Then there's also a smaller, more detailed map that would show if I get on the trail right here and I go to the left, where will I end up? If I go to the right, where will I end up? And then there's typically a community map. So at North Jeff, it has, if I get off here, how do I get into Jefferson City and how do I connect with the things that I might be looking for as a trail visitor? And then the fourth panel, in this case, is usually used to talk about the local community, maybe the history of the community. If there's some special landmark or story that's affiliated with the area, we can share that sort of information, and people are usually really interested to learn more about the communities that they're visiting. As we look for development, obviously one of the big things is bridges. So we have lots of bridges that are on the Rock Island corridor. These are much more substantial bridges in a lot of cases than we see on the Katy. In many ways, longer. They do also seem to be more sturdily built. If if that's a word, because it was a freight line, so, you know, the base structure and the substructure seems to be more sturdy. I will tell you that I'm a parks professional, not an engineer, so every bridge will have to have a professional assessment for that. Picture on the left is outside of Pleasant Hill. That's what it looked like before we renovated the Rock Island Spur and opened it, and then the picture on the right is kind of the end goal. So concrete decking on those existing rail bridges and oxidized steel safety railings on either side to keep people on the trail corridor. I did include here a picture of the big bridge that's in Cole County, so the Osage River Bridge. We have been out and taken a few looks at that. That looks, to me, looks pretty similar to that bridge that was on the left in that last slide. So obviously, once it has an assessment, it'll need concrete decking, it'll need safety railing. We'll leave that middle span that has the through truss there, but we certainly don't want to impede the view there. It's a really pretty view, but we'll have to have safety railings as it leads up to that.
The Rock Island also had passenger trains up until the 60s.
Yes, but it was
So-
primarily designed for freight. That's why
Yeah,
I think the
yeah.
bridges are a little bit,
Yeah.
seem bulkier and sturdier. And then I just included this picture just for informational purposes,
That's
since
the one
this
you
is
went
in
through, Jeff?
Eugene.
No.
This is the Eugene Tunnel.
I don't know anything about that.
You don't know anything about that tunnel. That's why I shared the pictures today, so we could look. 1,665 feet long. The good news is it is all concrete lined, so that's a bonus. Seems to be in pretty good shape. Obviously, things that we'll have to think about, lighting. So the KD Trail Tunnel, if you've been to Roachport's about 243 feet long, so this is substantially longer than that. You can kind of see the dot in the middle. When David and I took our first trip there, we poorly planned. I only had my cell phone flashlight, and let me tell you, need more lights than that to visit the tunnel. So probably looking at concrete through the center of the tunnels, lighting in the middle. Jackson County has a tunnel that they've added lighting, and they use a motion sensor light at the either end to start those lights. So I just included those for fun. Road crossings, typically anywhere that we have a road crossing, we'll have some sort of a barrier that encourages our visitors to slow down and pay attention to traffic. The picture there on the right is what we did on the Rock Island Spur. Those are metal, we call them squeeze gates, because they're designed to force the person that's approaching them to slow down and make sure they're lined up to get through the center of the gates. The opening is 4 feet wide. I know it looks kind of narrow in the picture, but it is wide enough for a bicycle to get through for sure. And we typically put those at road crossings. Sometimes you'll see driveway crossings. You'll see utility line crossings, sewer lines, water lines. Anytime anything, fiber optics, anytime anything has to cross the right of way, it'll have a license for that use. And Zane is our real estate manager, so he kind of coordinates all the licensing for those uses. There were hundreds and hundreds of licenses already in place that Ameren was managing, and they transferred all those to us with the right of way. So we have boxes of those that we're still kind of sorting out. And we've already had a few new applications for driveways that need to cross the right of way. Fencing, we're sharing fencing information with each of the communities. For new fencing, we have a policy that's already been in place for a number of years on the KD, where if you need new fencing, we budget money every year for fencing, and then it's on a first come, first served basis. We meet with the landowner on site and talk about what the need might be for fencing. And then we purchase materials using the state's purchasing requirements, and the landowner installs it at a mutually agreed upon location. I always say that because it's not always on that 100-foot mark. You know, if it's a rock cut area, you can't exactly get it at the 100-foot mark on either side because it could be halfway up the rock cut, and that doesn't make good sense. So we have some flexibility in that. One unique thing, on the Rock Island is there is a state statute that requires we'll be maintaining the fencing. We're still figuring out how that's going to work. We don't have any staff or funding today, so those are the things that we still have to figure out. We're certainly taking names and addresses, contact information for folks who have property that are interested in fencing, so we can reach back out to them when we know more. And this is an illustration. We shared this at all of our public meetings. We traditionally do 4 or 5 strand barbed wire, depending on what the landowner's request is, because it's designed for agricultural use. Allowed uses for Katy Trail and for Rock Island Corridor: walking, bicycling. Katy Trail allows equestrian in some selected areas, and the Rock Island Spur already allows equestrian use. So that's one thing we're meeting with communities, is to see what the interest might be for equestrians as we kind of make those plans. Where does it make sense to allow equestrian use or not? On the Katy Trail from Clinton to the Missouri State Fairgrounds, and then Tebbets to Portland, kind of in the central Missouri area, allow equestrian use. Things we have to consider there, larger footprint for a trailhead, because horse trailers take a lot more room than vehicular, cars with bicycle racks, as well as larger areas, more visitation sometimes is an issue for equestrian use because everybody yields to the horse, and so more people makes it harder to yield to those guys. We anticipate we'll operate the Rock Island Corridor much like we do the Katy Trail. So some of the things we did to kind of ease some of those landowner concerns were no overnight use. We expect the Rock Island will be the same. So Katy's a day use park. We're open 30 minutes before sunrise to 30 minutes after sunset every day. We anticipate that will be the same. We don't provide any overnight lodging or camping facilities on Katy Trail. We think that'll be the same on the Rock Island. That's where we really look to local communities and private business owners to offer camping, Airbnb. David was saying he lives in Hartsburg, and there's now 5 Airbnbs in Hartsburg that weren't there, 15, 20 years ago. Fencing policy, we kind of already talked about that. And then once we get under construction and development, we will have boundary markers just like the Katy. So the top 2 pictures there are what our boundary markers look like. The orange one, end of public use, and that blue one says state park boundary. We put those back to back, and then we kind of zigzag them down the corridor so you can always see the next one on the opposite side as you travel down the right-of-way. From a staffing perspective, Katy Trail is the longest, skinniest state park in our system, and Rock Island Corridor will be its twin, but on the south side. So we will divide that into sections for management, and each section will be assigned to a Missouri State Park. That'll allow them to share some maintenance staff and equipment back and forth between the state park and its remote operation here on the trail. Law enforcement, our state park rangers will be patrolling. They've already been out making contacts with the communities that are along the right-of-way. They already work with Cole County, some with the Katy Trail in North Jefferson area. So, and then volunteers, of course, are a critical piece. Grants and funding, I might let David, if you want to take, I'm getting ahead of myself, an update on the funding.
Yeah, just kind of where we're at on the funding situation. We did receive a $2.7 million ADA grant that we announced when we took the corridor back in December. We also just recently received a $126,000 grant from the Department of Health from CDC. And then our foundation raised about $1 million. And so we have a request this year in the budget, and that money went into the the Rock Island Endowment Fund, and that'll be for staff. So I think we requested 2 rangers, 2 maintenance, and a manager, a Rock Island coordinator through this budget cycle. And when Mel talked about we don't have staff do fencing, so if that's approved and once we get those staff, then we'll have staff to go out and do maintenance and fencing. And then of course 2 park rangers to help patrol it. The big item right now that's working its way through the legislative process is the $69.2 million ARPA funding for the Rock Island, which is essentially from Eugene to Beaufort, so all through Cole County would be included as part of that. And then we have we run a couple of grant programs. One's the RTP, the Recreation Trail Program grant, and we had, I think, 2 communities, Bell and Eldon, apply for that this year. And then there's a Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, which can't be used in the Rock Island, but it can be used in a community associated with the Rock Island. And then we've got some other grant opportunities we're handing out to the communities. And then our State Parks Foundation is still actively raising funds for the Rock Island to go into that separate Rock Island Endowment Fund that was set up a few years ago. So.
This is just a little bit more information about the RTP program, and we do have a handout with that if anybody would like a copy. And we provide this at each of the community assessment meetings, so that they have that resource. It's 80-20 money, so it only requires a 25-year commitment, so that's probably the best fit. But then there are some other resources that we provide to them as well that they can think about and consider applying. Community development, we just want to touch on this because visitation. So Katy Trail, we average more than 400,000 folks every single year. COVID 2020, we had 700,000. Last year, I think, was over 500,000. So seeing a lot of folks that come to the trail, it's definitely a bucket list item for people. It's not uncommon to run into somebody that's out riding and they're riding the whole thing. It's been on their list to accomplish and check that off their to-do list, and they're enjoying it. I think that'll be the same for the Rock Island. And we have a unique partnership with the National Park Service. They've adopted the Rock Island Trail Corridor, and this might be a great program to really utilize, in the Eugene community and or Henley area, because this Rivers Trails and Conservation Assistance Program, let's see, I included, they can do all kinds of things. They've adopted the corridor, and they can meet with individual communities or interested people in these communities and help them with some of their project planning. Do they have a community park? Do they have public land that they'd like to have a community park at? How can they connect their public facilities that they have to the other things that they have in town? So where are the businesses? Where's the school? And they can really come up with some deliverables that ultimately could help communities apply for grants. They don't give grants, but they can provide that technical assistance to kind of help them get their paperwork in place to move forward with grants. And our contact is Ashley Newsom. She's based out of Columbia, so she's relatively local and able to, come out and meet with folks as needed. So I think I always like to share this quote at the end, because this is kind of where we're at. We're not sure how all the pieces are going to come together at the end of the day, and so we're looking to complete that planning process and meet with all the communities by June 30th. Here in Cole County, because we do have 2 communities that are unincorporated, we certainly are willing and able to go out and meet with them, but I think we'll need some assistance, obviously, from you to kind of figure out what makes the most sense for those communities, and where those meetings might be, what they might look like. Maybe it's information we mail out, maybe it's something that we do in public. We certainly are open to kind of your thoughts and questions. And I think that's really all the formal presentation. What kind of questions do you have for us?
So we've got, I think, roughly, 6 to 8 miles of Rock Island actually in Cole County, right? So the connector, how much of that will be in Cole County, connecting the KD to the Rock Island?
Well, it won't connect in Cole County based on this map. Let's go back and look at it.
So the connector between 2 parks?
But that doesn't mean that you couldn't, work to develop a connector.
So the connector connecting the KD Trail to Rock Island
It's
won't
not
go
part of
through Cole County at all?
Nope, you'll have 2 separate trails. Well, and the Katy, North Jeff, so it's right there
Yeah.
on the county line. But so that isn't necessarily in Cole County. They won't connect to each other here unless that's something that you want to work to develop, and that's certainly something you could consider.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it connected
No.
through Cole County or where it was going to connect.
Not at this point. There are communities like in Washington and with the bike lane on the bridge now, they're looking to connect over to the
Okay.
Katy. And,
Okay.
as we get further to the east, we have a rail with trail approval to go into Union, then you're only about 6 miles, from Washington there. So I think there are groups, but that's not part of our planning process right now. Our planning process, which Ryan's kind of leading between now and the end of June, is to kind of come up with a master plan for that 144-mile corridor, identify where those trailheads make sense, and then kind of, we'll know then what the funding looks like moving forward, and then we can start talking about development.
So basically, it's just Eugene and Henley that are our 2
Well, the Osage River
Yeah,
Bridge,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
yeah. Are the 2 communities that are in Cole County, I think.
We were talking earlier outside of the Osage River Bridge and then the Eugene Tunnel will be big attractions for people to go see, maybe not biking or anything like that, just sightseeing. So
Take care of the snakes in the tunnel?
It's too
I
cold.
have not encountered any snakes.
It's
and
too
I have
cold in
spent-
there for snakes.
Yeah, too cold.
I mean, that's what I heard.
Okay. Just the
Looks
bats.
like other folks have experienced that tunnel too.
Yeah.
It's pretty accessible, and like Bill said, it's in good shape. 2 of the tunnels there are 4 tunnels on the corridor. The Jackson County Tunnel's done, it was done about 3 years ago, so we have some good cost numbers from them. And they put like a 12-foot concrete trail through it with the drainage and the lighting system. And so 2 of the tunnels are concrete lined. The one that's out there between Argyle and Alameda is not.
It looks like a cave. I
It'll
have
be-
pictures of it.
Yeah.
It looks like they're
It'll look
caving.
a little more challenging, but.
It's got a curb in it though, right?
It's got a bend in the
You
middle
can't
of
see
it.
all the way through.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You don't know what's coming. There could
Yeah.
be a snake down there.
Right. Or a train.
Or a train. They did tell us when we went and looked at that one that there
These
was
would
a.
be really cool if you would let us take ATVs on them.
We do, one thing we've done on the Katy, we've done on Rock Island, we do offer tram tours for seniors and people who can't get out there. And we've done that, and we've been at Roachport for like 10 years in the fall. We take about 1,000 people over 2 days. and we expand that opportunity. Tuesdays on Trail, we call it. We actually got another tram our Parks Association purchased us. So for folks that can't bicycle or can't walk, we have programming opportunities to get them out and see different sections. And we do that with different sections along the corridor.
Those will kick back up in May.
Argyle's already got a couple eating, drinking establishments, so I would think Argyle would be probably excited.
They had those before a bike trail,
Well, I know.
Yeah.
and they do just fine.
Oh, I know, they,
I mean,
yeah.
that's what I heard.
Some people just go to eat.
Does DNR have a dream as to when the first cyclist is going to be able to do a loop?
A lot of it'll depend on funding. I mean, we'll know more in June, kind of where we're at. Basically, you know, the Katy Trail is the longest developed rail trail in the nation, and that's 240 miles plus the Rock Island Spurs 47. So 287 miles is already open, and that's, as Melanie said, you know, essentially St. Louis, Kansas City. You know, this southern route, you know, provides that opportunity between Jeff City and Eugene, and of course on that other end, to have a future loop, but there's a couple gaps there. As Melanie mentioned, the Jackson County, there's a gap between Pleasant Hill and the Jackson County of about 6 miles that Jackson County's kind of working on. And on the east end, between Mockins and Confluence, it's about 6 miles. And then when you get to Confluence, you can actually ride down to the Arch. And so there's that potential, probably after my time, that ride from Arrowhead Stadium to the Arch, you know, and then of course this potential of those connector loops. But as Melanie said, the Katy Trail itself is already a destination, and I think we'll see with the addition, there's nothing like this in the world. You know, this system of rail trail that bring people in from all over. You know, I've been around before the Katy, and kind of saw, I'm around Hartsburg and kind of saw, you know, what the benefits the trail brought to places like Hartsburg and Roachport and those communities. It's been pretty amazing, and I think we'll see the same thing with the Rock Island.
So the meetings you do in the communities, are those mostly just informational, you kind of go through something similar?
Very similar to this. We were in Gerald last night till about 8:30. It went really long, had about 40 people, and talking to businesses, talking to chambers, talking to, you know, sometimes they're at a council meeting, and sometimes they're a special meeting, but it's just to be able to answer questions. A lot of the communities want to start right now, and other communities are just gathering information, and so, but yeah, if we can set one up in either a combo at Henley and Eugene, we'd love to do that if there's interest in doing that. It just
Probably the school in Eugene would be
yeah.
the best place to hold a meeting.
So any contacts you might have for who we would reach out to set those up?
How we
since
would
there's not
invite
a-
people
yeah.
to get there.
So the property that you do not have acquired, what happens if they don't want to give it up? Y'all gonna condemn it, take it from them, or is this gonna be,
No.
try to work something out with them? And
You've got at least 16 feet wide through the whole.
Yes, we
Yeah,
have
that's-
corridor through the whole thing. It's just where those trailheads are gonna go may be determined by where we have enough room to have parking and bathrooms. So like Eugene, this is, you know, we have plenty of space. Clearly, it's on the, you know, on the bottom of this map, so we have to figure out how to get to that. But I believe that that's a public road that comes down there on the left-hand side. So as long as we have public access to the right-of-way that was transferred, then we should be able to develop that into a trailhead.
Yeah, we're not really interested in acquiring any additional land, and so what, that planning
so
process
the
will
red is
help.
just showing what the 100-foot would be that you have for Katy Trail, comparing it.
The blue up here on the top would be, I think, 100, what was it saying?
What it shows is what the railroad historical.
Because when we go to this one, so that blue on this
Right-of-way
side, that's
variable.
standard 100 feet. And then I'm not sure what
Yeah, a
happened
little
there
wider, yeah.
by Henley, but it's sold off on either side.
And in some cases, like Eldon, the city owns it, and they're interested, and they're actually working to put a trailhead in, because we don't own much land there, so
So
it
the red
varies.
was what the railroad did own, but was not transferred over for whatever reason.
Exactly.
Okay,
It was sold before it came to us, before Hammer gave it to us.
okay. That clears it up, thank you.
But yeah, we're not wanting to acquire any additional if possible, and so that's not something we really did on the Katy, and we don't anticipate doing it here.
I sat through a few hearings several years ago when the Rock Island was passing through the legislature, you might say, and my recollection is the title searches on the Rock Island were exponentially tougher than they were on the Katy Trail because of all the deals that were made or supposedly made or not made or so on and so forth. But
I think our real estate guys agree with you. You are correct. Yeah.
Based on these maps, I would say yes.
yes. Okay. But you do have enough width for a bicycle to ride.
Oh, yeah, we have enough to develop
so-
the trail. The questions were about trailheads and where we have property and stuff like that, so.
Well, some places ought to be fighting over having the trailhead, shouldn't they?
They are. Yeah, that was a big discussion last night, because we had, Rosebud, Beaufort, Leslie, and
We didn't-
Gerald all there
All
last
there.
night, and they're all
Pretty close
interested in
together,
being a
less than
trailhead.
10 miles. Traditionally, about 10 miles is the right distance to have a trailhead. That, that's a good distance for a cyclist. They can make it that far, refill their water bottle, take a break, go to the bathroom, whatever. Typical cyclist cycles about 12 miles an hour, or I should say, I cycle about 12 miles an hour, and I am on the lower end of an average cyclist. So, trailhead to trailhead in about an hour. So that'd be, 10, 12 miles. So if your communities are only 3 to 4 miles apart, then
Our closest trailhead on the Katy is about 4 miles. I think that's Dutes out of Marthasville. Our longest is Hartsburg to McBain, about 16 miles. So, but they average about, I think, Hartsburg to Jeff City is about almost 11.
Where's the steepest grade?
I think coming out of the Gasconade River Bridge going east is one of the steeper grades. I used to heard stories as we've been out where they basically would take half the train, take it up, and then go back and get the other half through Summerfield, I think is, yeah, in that area. So we've got one on the Katy that's interesting out of Boonville. It's called Lard Hill because I guess the road hit a
local
lady.
legends.
Local legends hit a lady's cow, and the road wouldn't pay for it, so she went up and put lard on the tracks.
So the train
Until they
could
paid
get
her
up.
for her cow, so
She
that's
was
kind of a
justly
famous,
compensated, yeah.
infamous story on the Katy. There are some grades, but most of it's pretty level and pretty flat and easy to do. The good news with the Rock Island, we've had the Katy for 30 years and operated it. We're trying to be good landowners and working with communities. We've seen a lot of community development associated with the trail, and it's been a nice addition to our state park system. So we expect the Rock Island to be the same.
So far as scheduling a community meeting, I would think probably
Okay.
for you wanting us to set that up, or do you set it up?
We can set it up with as long as we have contact and who to kind of start with.
Okay.
We'll be happy to set it up.
So I can get you some contact info on that.
Okay, that'd be great.
Publicize and do whatever we need to do on our end.
Who are you gonna contact? The mayor of Brumley or?
Contact the
Superintendent of school, yeah.
Maybe they have a
Lager.
way to help spread the message.
And they have a
Well, they got places to have the
he's a
meetings,
pretty dynamic young man,
It's not like
so.
they have a city council down there that you're gonna be working with,
Well.
things, so.
I would attend the meeting.
Yeah, just any contact and we can start there. We're trying to get those done between now and June, so Ryan can put his plan together. Thank you all for having us.
Thanks for having us
Yeah.
today.
Thank you.
All right, Thanks.
No, they have a new
Not
super.
Brumley, Henley, I meant.
Yep, and
Yeah.
then I'll reach out to him and see what dates might
Yeah.
know. I know that in the
Mayor of
spring,
Henley.
schools are busy
Okay.
with stuff, so we'll see what's available and then,
When you ready to road trip down there?
yeah. That'll be.
Jeff, you
Thanks
wanna ride
for
along?
having us
When it
today.
gets a little, it gets a
Take
little
you
bit,
down to
little
Henley?
bit warmer, yeah,
Take you through the
yeah.
Would they want?
Okay.
Do you want to
Wait,
keep
is
one? This
this-
has got all of the communities on the Rock Island corridor, so if there were questions about what the right of way looks like in
No,
different
I'd
places,
like to do
has-
that.
Yeah, round trip. You might get left in Henley, Sam.
Melody's there, I'll just go over Melody's. Okay, do we have any other issues that come before us today?
No.
Jeff, no?
No.
No. Until 3 PM.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, so